There are no public comments.
Didn't think so. Okay, let's approve the minutes of January 20th.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, okay, let me back
Oh,
up.
Oh, yep.
We need to.
Well, she's not, is she
She's
on?
not even here yet, right?
She's not here. We could probably wait till she shows up.
Okay, well, never mind then. Okay.
Yeah.
Had a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the evaluation form and process.
So, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think actually what we'll probably best do is go ahead and present the informational item that's on your agenda just
Oh,
now. But in your packet, in your Granicus packet, are two things: the PowerPoint and then the form that is very similar. I mean, it's exactly the same as it was 6 months ago in format, and the process is the same. Where with your approval, that's the action item today, is to approve this process and then send this out to the full PSA board to fill out. As you can see, it's a fillable Excel,
PDF.
or is it a PDF?
No, it's an Excel. I tried doing a PDF one year and it was too much trouble, so it'll
Okay.
be an Excel.
There are some important differences, changes that we made in the, if you look at, in detail at the 5 questions or 5 statements, they now reflect our Sustainable Strategic Plan and Diversity and Inclusion plan that we've adopted in the last several months. So some of the little areas are a little bit different. Some we carried over, some of the questions we kind of carried over, and some are just slightly changed. But essentially, what this will do is, after today, we'll send this out, we'll get it back, you're gonna meet again on September 13th and review it. And then this accounts for 25% of the overall score in our system. The performance scorecard will then be 75% of the score. Right now, through 3 quarters, that's looking very good, as we just reported to the executive committee. And as I'll present now, that will, like all the employees, then result in an overall score that will be based on the merit adjustment. Is this the
It
presentation?
should be up there.
The mouse?
No, the little clicker.
Yeah, do I just go here?
Face it.
There we go. So the plan this year is different than it is in the past, and it's reflective of sort of the issues, some of the challenges or communication questions we had with some of our employees, the union employees. Right now, we're planning on just one adjustment. Everyone, all 640 PSA employees will be adjusted at the same time through the same basic process on October 1, the beginning of the budget year. No different cycles for folks. The union wages, which were modified by the board adopted back in March, have a automatic increase on October 1 of my 2 buckets of market and merit. The union doesn't really have a market. They're already now at market, or they're actually the highest. The remaining employees, the non-union employees, there's about a third, well, about 80 employees that we brought to 90 or 95% of market rate last go round. Probably should have just brought everyone to 100, but the plan is to bring everyone to the market rate, to their market rate, using the same survey that we did before. And then on the merit side, the union will all get 3.25% increases, plus the ones that are in the steps will get bigger than that increases to get up to the top rate. And part of the deal that we reached with the union last spring was to reduce the number of steps to get to top rate, so they get there faster. So that's all, they're very happy. And I'm meeting again with the union leader on Monday, and I'm gonna go over this again, just to make sure they're still happy. What we're proposing, what we've included in the budget so far, is for non-union, based on the evaluation, they would get a 2% merit. So for those folks that are not at market rate, they would be brought to market, and then they would be up to the 2% if they meet their goals. For those folks that are already at market rate, they would just be eligible for a 2%. So for me, my rate was brought up to 92%, which I was grateful for. The budget does include funds to get me to 100% to the market rate this go round. And then the evaluation that the board would do would be based on the 2% or not. As I mentioned, the overall evaluation is based on the scorecard and the board evaluation. The scorecard is sort of what was accomplished, and I will provide sort of a summary of some of those things that PSA accomplished over the last year. And then the board evaluation is not necessarily what PSA did, because that's supposed to be sort of the scorecard. It's how the employee performed. That's how we explain it to our employees. So that's pretty much the presentation. The schedule again, September 13th. Rachel will bird dog all the board members to make sure they get their scores back in time, and then we'll meet again. And then on September 28th, when the board finally approves the budget, the recommendations that the personnel committee ultimately comes up with or recommends for all the employees will be included in that budget plan.
So when we do that in September 28th, is that two separate votes for your compensation and the other compensation is sort of included, right? Well, so we do our recommendations to the board, we decide what they are, and then they come to the board on the 28th. Is that a separate vote from the budget as a whole?
Well, like you said, I mean, I'm very open. We can do it any way that you think is best. We typically have done it as a separate vote in the past. And of course, the union and the other employees, they're just part of the budget vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think we should, and we need to look at the salary survey for your position again.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't remember that we only brought it to 92, but here we go again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, here we go again.
Well, the 92, that was based, there was a cap of 10,000, is that?
It was a cap of 10,000. That's why it only went to 92.
Yeah, we're still 21,000 behind.
20.
Yeah.
But it would be 20,000 plus the merit,
Oh, just, you know.
plus any additional.
Hello, Commissioner Driscoll.
Hi, sorry for my lateness. I had a little trouble just logging in, but I'm here now.
Okay, we want to,
Move to allow Commissioner Driscoll.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to allow you to participate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. So we're talking about compensation.
Right.
Are you seeing the?
You see the slide, Commissioner Driscoll?
Probably not.
Yes, I have it on my screen. It's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and in your Granicus packet is also the form that to fill out, and that we will, the vote this morning is just to approve that form to send out to the 15 board members. And then
Yes, okay.
back to the schedule. Wait. Yeah.
So, yeah.
We're meeting today that the forms will be due before September 13th by all the board members, and then we'll meet again on the 13th. What we were just talking about was the Personnel Committee will make a recommendation on whatever compensation adjustment to the CEO specifically, and then the plan that we've outlined for all the other employees. But we decided then on September 28th, when the board finally meets to approve the budget for next year, it will, the CEO's adjustment will be a separate vote. But then that was
I
what
think
we
it
were just
should
discussing.
be. Yeah,
I agree.
I think it should be. Although we can have that explanation that we're talking about raising, well, you'll explain the other ones too, how that's come about in terms of bringing people to market.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is that consistent with what Pinellas County and Oldsmar and other people do too?
We always take a separate vote on the county administrator.
Okay, yeah.
Although it usually ends up being the same, he started out better than you did, obviously. It usually is the same as everybody else gets, so.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Couple questions. So this year, the market adjustment is gonna be bringing CEO compensation up 20,000 or so. Last year, it was capped at 10. And I was an advocate for raising it to the full amount last year and not having a cap, but I'm interested in understanding what the logic is, why it's different this year in not having a cap versus
Cap.
the recommendation last year to have a cap. Is there something different?
Based on the discussions that I think you led last go around and with the PSA board, and then both and Trish, you can comment whatever. But some of the issues that we just had with that cap, and the fact that we didn't move everyone to the new level all at the same time. What we've included in the budget and what we're planning is trying to just get everyone to the midpoint. To the midpoint now.
So one of the main-
And there's a couple of employees that are over the 10.
So one of the main differences was, at least in my mind, is that last year's number was after we'd already approved the budget. And so
That's true too.
this year's prior to approving the
Yeah.
budget, so we have, that is being reflected in our current numbers versus last year. I just think it's
Right.
important, especially if we're gonna meet with other organizations. I would imagine that would be a question that would come up, because people tend to look at, generally speaking, the dollar amount increase and talk about the dollar amount, not a percentage, and why was it different one year versus the other. So, I think it's important to realize that, one, it's important to pay our employees at every level adequately for the work and performance that they provide to the organization. But the main difference we have this year is that it's included in the budget, whereas last year's was not.
Right.
So, I did have a question about the form,
Oh, go ahead.
which I know we've used before, but, so the scoring in each block is, the way it shows here is intended to be one score for each category, right? So the 4 points in communication would have one score. While I think that makes it simple, I think something that would be more effective in helping you, Brad, and the board understand ideas of where there might be areas of improvement or whatnot would be to have individual scores for each one of those that then roll up into a average score for the block. It's a little bit more helpful in understanding, right, if you're a 4 in some area, then you're relying on someone to write comments down below that might indicate why it's a 4, whereas you might be 5s in all of the things in one block except, in one segment, except for one thing. It'd be helpful to know what that one thing is so that you can work on that item. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to simplify the form to have just one comment area. I think we could put a narrative comment section under each of the 4 areas. Or you could call that, I mean, Trish and I were just talking about this across the whole PSDA employee base. There are some managers who are doing just as you suggest and give little mini scores to each one of those sub-questions. And then they do some kind of complex averaging and, thing like you might do, I would think that you would do to figure out the score, and some just say 4, 5, 3, whatever.
Yeah, so I guess there's two ways of looking at this form. One is to understand what kind of merit adjustment you would have based on your performance in those areas. And then two, as an evaluation on areas that you can work on so that you can do even better for yourself and for the organization. And so, you have, like in the first block, there are 4 separate questions. It just seems to me, and I think we've done this in the past, where you would score each one and then it would roll up to an average, or you could even put your own, score for the category. But it seems to me that would be more helpful to you, and to the organization to know where you stand on each of these individual topics. I can't imagine it taking that much longer from a board member perspective, since you're looking at all the questions individually anyway, and scoring.
I do know that we do.
You're
it's
assuming
not
everyone
easy
takes
to
it
get
as
all
seriously
15
as you
people
do.
to fill it out. I mean, we struggle. I don't know what our record is, but we struggle to get like more than 10 of the 15 board members to fill it
Right.
completely out.
So this is merely if it were me, this is how I would like to have my evaluation done. So if I see something that's say it's a 3, and then the board member doesn't put any comments down, I have no idea what that, then I don't know what I did right or wrong, or maybe I was really good, I had a 1 in some area and 5s in other in the same block, and now so I averaged to a 3, but I don't know. So I would want a little bit more detail. Now I realize that,
If you remember last year, I filled mine out, a couple people filled theirs out, and then a bunch of people didn't fill theirs out. I mean, they waited till the last day, and it was a simple form like this.
I think it would be helpful to have a comment section under each. I mean, some people feel compelled to use them, some don't, but if you're gonna mark somebody down in a certain one of those questions, then you should,
And
Then you should be
that
explaining
might be
it.
the solution that'll work for the group,
I mean,
but,
it's a form of feedback, so if you're trying to say you didn't quite make it in this area. So I would like to just see a little block there under each of the 5 sections for comments.
We could do that, sure.
I just want to make sure that outside of just the numeric scoring for merit, that you're also getting the feedback you need to
Yeah.
do a better job and be improving on your own.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, angling for I have 700 things I want to tell you and I need a form to do it. I'm just saying that it would be helpful for you.
Usually, frankly, since we've moved to this new form, the narrative section, what board members write in the narrative part is certainly probably more helpful. The scores get averaged across all 15 board members,
Right.
and I'm not sure if it's really, it becomes kind of tough to really understand this. So I didn't put this in the PowerPoint I presented you because I want to emphasize it's completely up to the personnel committee and the board on the adjustment to the CEO. So I didn't want to,
Right.
but I thought we were talking about comparables and the survey. I did pull some of these other agencies down below, and it just shows the percentage increase. Yeah.
So how did you pick those agencies? Are they supposed to be comparable size or what?
Well, yes. Hart and T-Barda, I had, are relatively close.
Well, T-Bar is not.
I tried to get, Fort Pinellas, I'll get that before the 13th. I don't have that yet.
Well, I think if we look at organizational size and population size for the transit agency.
And I
not
just
necessarily-
got.
I don't think I don't think T-Barda matters.
Right.
I don't think
Um,
Fort Pinellas matters.
I just got an APTA just published a salary book for all positions.
Yeah.
And so I looked up in that, and I found Hampton Roads, at least in our benchmarking group, or one of the 20 other cities, is like identically sized.
Hmm.
It's very, very comparable in lots of different metrics. it's a regional system, there's lots of water.
Right.
And then, I put the APTA average in the whole survey that they had. Now that is tiny cities to huge cities, so it's really variable. And I put Buffalo in there for Debbie and, the mayor.
Okay. Okay,
I can't believe Buffalo's that high.
Well, they're multimodal, remember that.
Yes, good point.
if with Jackson, great.
Back to that
Jacksonville
form.
is like
I
a,
can't believe the Pinellas is that
is
low.
like the Expressway Authority as well.
Mhm.
They're
Oh.
kind of like the Expressway Authority there.
Yeah.
Well, that's something.
So they have lots of money, because they get all the tolls.
So.
Madam Chair, I have one quick comment. So
Okay, go
back
ahead.
to what Josh said. Last year, we made the form easier. I remember we cut it back a little bit, but I do like your idea, both of your ideas, of adding at the bottom if someone wants to put comments. I just wanted to add that in. Go ahead, Josh, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, this is kind of looking forward, more so, right? Because we're talking about merit adjustments and market adjustments.
Right.
And I don't know if we've started to think forward to maybe employees that haven't quite met their merit adjustments for several years,
Mhm.
but then get a market adjustment, right? So it's kind of like, you know, they get brought up whether they've been performing well or not. And it's not a today problem, and hopefully it's a never problem, because we always have employees that are always performing well and getting the merit adjustments. But, you know, I think I just wanted to at least put it out there, we need to be giving some thought as to how we maintain, like, not just forget the fact that they haven't been doing well and just adjust them to the market on their own. And that may already be in place.
We have a system kind of like for that, right?
We do, we have, for employees who are experiencing significant performance issues, we put them on a performance improvement plan, and those folks have not been eligible for those types of increases.
Even the
Thankfully,
market one?
very few.
Right, but would they then be eligible for a market increase down the road, right? So they're not getting the merits, which puts them a little bit further behind the market every
Right.
year.
Yeah.
And then if we do this every 3 to 5 years, then bam, they get all that anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to, you know, as we start to implement this process, we need to think about how we might handle that down the road.
If they're not
that has been
performing
an
year
issue.
after year, they're probably not gonna be here.
Well, I mean, that's also the possibility, but.
Right.
I think, if I may, yeah, I think what we did the last time we may have had an issue, a challenge with an employee, is we budgeted for the market increase, because if that employee's no longer here, you want to have the budget to replace it with somebody at market value. So they have the potential, but if they're not performing, they're not eligible, at least at that moment in time. Then if they leave, then we're prepared to hire somebody at market.
Well, and from a budgetary standpoint, that makes sense. I think we should be budgeting all positions at what we're either paying or the market, because that's what we're going to have to pay if we need to go out. And, you know, also, this could be something that just happens, like, if someone is deficient one year, and then we do the market adjustment the next year, because that's just when it happens, then they have, you know, without any other corrective measure, they have the ability to get that adjustment the next year. So, I love the process that we have, and I think you know, putting the schedules together and getting all of the different stakeholders here at PSTA on the same page at the same time all makes sense. And doing it before the budget is done, you know, so it's incorporated in the actual budget, makes sense. I just want us, you know, potentially seeing an issue, you know, a year or two from now.
Well, and that has been an issue, again, not for many, but I know over the last 6 months or so, Trish and I have noticed, I've noticed, last go-round, if you did not score high enough to achieve a merit, then we did not adjust your market rate. And then, I've noticed there's, I mean, as Debbie said, or Trish said, most employees that are not consistently not meeting their merit, they no longer are here fairly quickly. But there are a handful of folks that, because of their scorecard, they didn't achieve their merit, so then they were below, and then it was kind of like, if there was a performance issue, it was only a temporary. It's like a temporary we put them in the penalty box to use like hockey, you know, and then on October 1, they're gonna be out of it, they're gonna go, it was just a temporary,
But they're not gonna get their,
they wouldn't get the
2.5
merit,
or
they wouldn't
whatever
get the 2%.
yeah.
Well, and just, you know, while,
It's, I think it's like 2 or 3 employees across.
so one of the concerns I have is as the labor market continues to be tight, our ability to select, train, retain the absolute best for the agency may become more difficult, right? So we may wind up having to stick it out with some folks that are struggling in certain areas. Because that's just who's available. There's just, you know, people are getting hired away. It's harder to find people. So, again, nothing that's at issue now. It just makes sense to at least have thought out, like, how are we gonna handle this process so we're not a year or two from now when we go to do the market study again, going, whoa, okay, now what do we do? So, that way we're just being a little upfront. But otherwise, I'm, you know.
Yeah,
fully on
and
board.
if the committee has a different thought, my thought, and what I told Trish was, my thought was, well, let's maybe not have to deal with those issues. Let's try to get everyone good, October 1, and then see the fun that happens after that, you know?
Right, well, and I'm not saying that we
Yeah,
change,
we-
I'm not saying that we change what we're doing now. I think moving everyone to market at this point, unless there's, you know, like you said, 2 or 3 standouts that really should be discussed. I was just thinking forward to the next market adjustment as merit awards and things change over time, you know, how we were gonna handle the next one. So, no, but the plan here, I'm fully in favor of what we have.
Okay.
And no other
so-
questions or comments, for now.
To go back to the CEO adjustment. So I think we need to, I mean, I understand why we don't want to emphasize that necessarily, because it just stirs up a hornet's nest, but you're not anywhere near, you are probably farther away from market than anybody, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. But there are,
Trying to lead by example.
but there are a few, yeah, I know, but we shouldn't have let you get away with that last year. But there are a few others that also weren't, how many others do you think?
I think there
We brought to
were,
90% market with it?
there were less than 5 who were brought to something other than 95%.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think we can just say, we had those people that we didn't bring up to market last year that we're bringing, including the CEO. And now everybody should be at 100% of the median of their market, or whatever, the midpoint of the market, right?
Right.
So that's our goal. That was our goal last year, and should still be our goal this year. So, I mean, in terms of framing it, that's what we want to.
And it is my understanding this is sort of a similar, or the maybe the messaging is similar to what Pinellas County is proposing in their budget to,
We have a very complicated thing we're doing.
well,
Well, we're
but it
giving,
is truing people up to their market rate and then like a 3% above the market.
but then also like a $1,200
Oh,
or
yeah.
something, which is the same for everybody, so the people at the lower end, it means a lot more to it than the people at the top.
No, yeah. we're
Just
not
trying to-
doing anything like that.
Yeah, it's,
I saw
yeah, I mean,
four-
everybody's going through the same thing, trying to somehow figure out what the market is and get to it, so we can have employees.
Well, and unfortunately, as you move individual salaries up, that changes the market, which then
Yeah, of
changes
course.
the, I mean, so it's a
Right.
self-fulfilling prophecy and
Well,
it
you should
com-
see what
compounds and
police
feeds.
agencies do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bidding war. It's
But the
like
reality
crazy.
is that the philosophy of wanting to retain the best employees that we can still holds.
Right.
And, you know,
Yeah.
we don't want to, you know, I don't want to speak, I don't want to lose Brad to a different agency.
Right. Right,
Over $20,000.
Exactly.
right. So, okay.
30,000, I don't know.
Plus, he
Yeah.
doesn't want to move.
Yeah, right. He likes Pinellas County. Okay,
So we need a motion?
So our,
You're just
For the-
approving the form,
form.
modified to have
Just for the-
Yeah, I'll make
comments,
a-
under
I'll make a
each of the
motion
items.
to approve the CEO evaluation form with the
comments
updates,
section.
with the comment section after each item.
Second that.
okay, any other comments on that? And feel free to mark each question if you like.
I'm gonna use decimal points too.
Okay,
There you go.
all right. I hate it when people do that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
I,
Oh, yes, hi there.
I think Mayor Welch always, he's the
Okay.
one who ever used that, he always liked to use decimal points.
Okay, and then we come back on the 13th and make an actual recommendation in terms of compensation adjustments for everyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
We did it.
we did it,
That was it?
we're good.
That was it?
Yes,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, then.
See, over under on board members filling it out on time.
I'm gonna go with at
Well,
least
it's-
there's
Out of how
four.
many? 14?
4,
It's,
5?
The ones that
the
did.
real goal is getting everyone to do it
Right, right.
I know, that.
I'm
remember
betting on 11.
on time,
No,
you
11 was
know.
my
Usually whatever I
Okay, well,
get,
No, we moved it.
I get, but
Okay, well, sure.
in time, it's just, there's always a couple maybe that
I
just
remember
don't
last
do
year,
it.
there was like 7
That was
people who
crazy.
didn't fill them out, and there was only 3 days to go.
I know.
Has to hound
I
them
bet I
every
never
year.
one of them was.
Yeah.
What was that?
Richard Bennett filled this out in paper. He just filled it out right at the meeting.
That's my Richie.
Oh, dear.
Okay, then. I guess we're adjourned? We don't have any other business?
Oh, boy.
Okay, then.
All right, great meeting as always, guys.
Okay,
all right.
this is not-
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Have a nice day in St. Pete. All right, guys. Well, it's good seeing you all again.
Yep. Here you go,
Keep our fingers crossed next week, we may hear about the Clearwater.
I know.
Say what?
We might hear about the Clearwater,
Oh, yeah, good.
Federal